Today on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, we got Week 15 recap for some or most games. It's time for Garbage Time. Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. I am your host, Ron Seymour, joined today by the one fake honey badger, Joseph McCann. How you doing today?
Doing good, Ron. You ready to get eliminated from the fantasy playoffs?
I think, along with a lot of people, this week just sucks.
Yeah,
what was this week?
Absolute bullshit at the quarterback position, and Kyler Murray sucked for me, so I'm facing elimination too. I'm in a dead heat with 2 players to go, so let's go Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, you really need let's go Justin Jefferson. That doesn't bode well for us, does it? That we both
Probably
need
not.
a Minnesota Viking. See, I need it more than you need him to go nuclear, though.
I just need a decent game.
I need a decent game.
I need a normal Dalvin Cook game. You need a nuclear Justin Jefferson game.
Yeah, which is almost kind of a normal for Justin Jefferson lately. But yeah, so it was a rough week for many fantasy football players.
Especially the host of this podcast.
Especially the hosts of this podcast. Luckily, Ryan was able to secure that first round bye.
So we're not all eliminated.
Didn't have to deal with that this week 15 from hell.
Oh, God.
All right. Awful. It was a bad week. We'll get into it more, but first let's get into...
Yeah. Tell them where you can find the damn show first.
They're watching the show, or they should be. Scrubs.
Where they can listen to it then.
All right. If you can't watch it here on YouTube, maybe you're busy. Maybe you're in the car. Well, run right over to either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review. And make sure you're following us over there. Make sure you're following us on Spotify. Make sure you're following us on Iheartradio, Tunein Radio. And I lost it. I know there's more. Google Podcasts. That's the one I'm missing.
I'm so proud of you. And our website, www.garbagetimef.com.
And also on Twitter at garbage_timeff. On Instagram at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Make sure you also check out our sister podcast, Garbage Time Presents the MMA Podcast, hosted by Ryan and sometimes Casey, if he ever is not lazy enough to actually get on a podcast.
Maybe they'll have an episode or 2 next year.
Maybe. Roughly, they'll hit 100 episodes in about 10 years. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show.
All right. With all that being said, now we will get into the news.
News updates.
All right, let's start off with the biggest news of the day, which is Chris Godwin is declared out for the season with further evaluation on his injury. So what is this going to do for the Buccaneers going forward? And I want to follow this up with news that Antonio Brown is expected to be accepted back to the team next week. In point A to point B position, what are these 2 pieces of news going to do for the Buccaneers team and for fantasy football?
Well, I think the Buccaneers are lucky enough to be getting Antonio Brown back because I think he'll just plug right into that Chris Godwin role. Tom Brady loves Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no issue there with continuity or, them being on the same page. It'll be fine. As long as Antonio Brown is completely healthy, which I'm guessing he probably is. They've been slow playing them this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
For this type of moment, just making sure he's good if someone goes down. I'm pretty sure this is what they were kind of preparing for.
So the initial plan with him before him faking his vaccination pass was to bring him back in week 15. So the only thing this did was give him an extra week of rest. So I think they were well prepared for this. They kind of were playing the smoke and fire game, saying they were considering what is punishment was going to be and if they would even let him back on the team. So I really don't think that we're going to see much of a drop off of them coming back. Like you said, he's going to go right into that Chris Godwin role, and he's easily a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside instantly because Tom Brady loves him and they have a repertoire. So we already have a question here from the heckling fan.
Shit. They're quick today.
All right, Justin. Kirk Cousins or Stafford for this week? That would be Stafford, which I hope I am wrong on this because Stafford is going up against the Seahawks secondary, which is apt to give up more points than I believe the Bears. You can't go wrong with one of these options, but I would go with Stafford.
I will throw out there the Bears are missing about 90% of their back end, of their defensive backs and everything. I'm pretty sure they're missing a ton of people off the COVID list.
So who would you go with then?
That's a hard one.
I would go with the consistent answer, which has been Stafford all year. Not that Kirk Cousins hasn't been good. He's been fantastic all year, but for fantasy football purposes, Stafford, I think, has been better. And obviously, I don't like that secondary with the Seahawks. I pray I'm wrong because that could do me in the playoffs here shortly. But, Justin, probably go with Stafford in my opinion. And also like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already.
Justin, I'm going to say Kirk Cousins. He's also been solid this year. And I really need Justin Jefferson to have a really big game to continue on in these fantasy playoffs. So I'm just going to will it into existence by saying Kirk Cousins is going to have a really good game today.
Do you really want to trust Ron Seymour here, who was doing the apology bet last episode, though? I mean, do you want to make this our next apology bet?
What are we going by? Fantasy points?
In our league?
In our league? Fantasy points in our league?
Yeah. I'm going to say no because I don't want Stafford to do well. I think he will, but I don't want him to.
I was almost going to do it.
Don't do it.
All right, so I guess your choices are me, who says Kirk Cousins because I need Kirk Cousins too well, or Joe, who said Matt Stafford but really doesn't want Stafford to do well.
So my heart doesn't want Stafford to do well, but my fantasy brain tells me that Stafford's going to play well because, unfortunately, Seattle's got a bad secondary. So I would go with the option of there.
That's a hard decision just because they're both decent options this week.
Sorry we don't have a third host on for you tonight to make up that decision for you.
Right, yeah, our bad.
All right, so in our next little bit of news today, too, Craig Reynolds signed to the Lions active roster, and after this past weekend was much deserved. What are your thoughts on Craig Reynolds in that running game? Is he going to be a big piece of that Lions future, and is he an interesting piece for dynasty rosters?
I think because he showed that he can handle an NFL game, he definitely needs to be on a dynasty roster. He could end up being nothing. I mean, I don't think he'll have a future with the Lions. They have DeAndre Swift, and they brought in Jamal Williams on a decent deal. So those two guys are the main two guys.
He's definitely an interesting piece, and he's going to get his work the rest of the season. They want to keep their team healthy going forward. So I think they're going to give him as many opportunities as they can going forward. Obviously, their backfield's been banged up here, and they want to see what they've got with this team. I think he's going to have ample opportunity to at least carve out a piece on this roster, whether that amounts to something in the long term. Who knows? But like you said, they do have two established backs here. But nothing wrong with having a third one here. I would definitely stash him on your dynasty, and he's a viable play should both of the running backs for the Lions not play the last 2 weeks. I mean, he looks just fantastic. He's a big piece there. They were passing him the ball, and he got the majority of the work there. So I see nothing wrong with Craig Reynolds going forward, at least for this year.
All right.
And our next little bit of news, too. JJ, did a little bit of voodoo to Teddy Bridgewater, talking shit before that game with him, but he is doing well since Monday. He's out of the hospital and is now in concussion protocol, even though he's expected to miss Week 16. What's your thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater and the quarterback situation in Denver going forward?
I almost think when it comes to fantasy football, Drew Lock is better for the Broncos than Teddy Bridgewater is.
That is absolutely disgusting to say.
But it's not wrong. Because Drew Lock actually makes the wide receivers a little bit more. I mean, you're never going to know which one to play.
Mm-hmm.
But when Bridgewater was in there, most weeks you couldn't play any of them.
My gut's telling me that with fantasy playoffs, and we're obviously in the midst of it right here, I don't think either one of these are viable for any team still in the playoffs, and there's some much better options here. And past the season, I don't think either one of them are going to be on this team anyway. So I think you can just ignore the quarterback situation for Denver altogether.
I think the Broncos are going to go hard in the paint for Aaron Rodgers.
I do too. I think they'll be in a veteran quarterback situation, whether it be for him or a Russell Wilson. I think there's some other options out there too, but they're definitely going for a veteran wide receiver.
They paid all three of Jerry Jeudy's on his rookie deal, and they paid Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick this year. Both, I want to say they were both like 3 to 4 year deals. Mm-hmm. Like they're showing Aaron Rodgers, look, we have a outstanding wide receiver core locked up for the next 3 years. Like, come here and you were never going to lose these pieces. Like, that's what they want to show him.
All right, and our next little bit of news too. Leonard Fournette is expected to miss a game or two with a hamstring injury. Although Ronald Jones did look pretty decent in recovery. He had 7.1 yards a carry, only on 8 touches, but it was pretty effective. What's your thoughts on what this is going to do for playoff fantasy teams who are currently going to be missing Fournette? And is Ronald Jones a decent replacement for him should he be out there?
You definitely have to have Ronald Jones if you have the Fournette. Luckily, a few weeks ago, I thought ahead, and I picked up Ronald Jones back when Leonard Fournette was, what was it, earlier, like a hamstring, or he had something, a little tweak that he missed practice over. Mm-hmm. And I picked up Ronald Jones, and I'm like, well, I want him on my team for the playoffs anyways, just in case. I don't want someone to block me from him if I lose Fournette. I don't feel as happy like rolling out Ronald Jones as I would Fournette, but this offense is going to be down Chris Godwin. Like we said, Antonio Brown is coming back, but Mike Evans is also injured. Like Mike Evans has a hamstring issue. Like they're hoping he plays this week, but it's not a guarantee. So this team could run through the running game, and that could potentially be good things for Ronald Jones.
And that was our nice little bit of news too, is that Evans also got hurt last night. They were all banged up in this game too, and I think that is going to absolutely make Rob Gronkowski an absolute great play next week into it. They are going to absolutely rely on him, and he could lead this team in targets next week.
The Saints' plan for last night's game was to just injure all the players so they couldn't play football, and that's how they wanted to get the win.
And I am the only one on this show that predicted the Saints were going to win that game.
To be fair, you've also made a pretty bad predictions this week.
Yeah, I did, but I'm pretty happy with that one.
But just point out the good one. Yeah, good job.
Make myself sound like a genius. All right, in our next little bit of news, too, another player was signed to the active roster. This one for the Dolphins. Duke Johnson has been signed to the active roster for the Dolphins. What is he going to do for fantasy football the last 2 weeks of the season, and is he viable for teams going forward? Or is he going right back to the committee role because their running back situation is going to get healthier?
He'll probably go right back to the committee role. I feel like last week they were playing the Jets. I know it wasn't a blowout or anything, but it's the Jets. They were like, all right, Myles Gaskin's here if we need him. But we're going to really lean on Duke Johnson because we don't care if he gets injured.
Back your face away from your mic. It sounds like sandpaper rubbing against the mic.
Sandpaper.
Yeah. I don't know if that was creepy or not, or I was expecting that.
You didn't think I was going to do that? Come on now.
Oh, Lord. I don't know.
Is that better, sir?
No, something still sounds like sandpaper. I'm not sure what it is. We'll move on from that thought. I really thought it was your beard initially.
No, I wasn't rubbing on it. Okay. I mean, it was kind of close, but I wasn't rubbing on it.
Okay, so I ran through my news too, but I wanted to run through a little pop quiz with you and see what you thought about with this. If you had to guess from this weekend without looking at your stats, who do you think were the top 4 fantasy producing running backs this week? Specifically on Sunday.
I'm guessing Duke Johnson is up there.
He's in there. He's the 4th. He's number 4.
God, I feel like it's a bunch of nobodies.
Got any other nobodies in mind?
I can't think of it, but how did David Johnson do? Did David Johnson have a good game?
He's not in there.
No. James Robinson.
No.
No, I can't think of it.
I'm going off yardage, not total points.
You're going off yardage.
Yes, yep.
That's not going to help me. I don't know.
Robinson did very good this week, though.
Yeah, he did very good. I got nothing. I can't think of it.
So it started at the top with Craig Reynolds with 112 yards rushing.
That's the one I was thinking
of. Then Jeff Wilson with 110. Dante Foreman with 108, and then Duke Johnson with 107. Who would have thought that ever would have happened on any given Sunday? There's no one in the world that could have ever predicted that. Such a weird week.
Those numbers are crazy and everything, but the number that really gets me still is the fact that Derrick Henry is still like 5th on the season in rushing yards, and he played 8 games.
It's insane.
Like that's ridiculous.
And don't count him out for Week 18. They're saying he's getting ready.
Yeah,
they think he's going to be ready for the playoffs. Oh man, if he gets back,
I think if they
100%. He's that much of an animal.
If they are already in the playoffs by Week 18, if they've already have a playoffs thing locked, I don't think they'll let him play. They'll wait till playoffs.
If they're playing for one though, and they need him, they'll bring him back.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. You have any other news you want to talk about before we get into
I'm pretty sure I've seen that A.J. Brown has been designated off the IR.
Interesting.
So
go into that a little bit.
So the Titans should be getting some help back. They just had to place Julio on season-ending IR.
No help for me?
Yep. And so getting A.J. Brown back is a huge deal to this team.
Mm-hmm.
They needed pieces. They've stayed in it when they didn't have any of their main guys. Had big, next man up like this. They next manned up hard. So you got to give them that. But having A.J. Brown back will be a huge addition for them.
Agreed. All right. I think we're ready to get into the game recap.
All right.
It doesn't matter how many weeks in a row you forget that drop.
That's more true than ever this week, man. More true than ever.
I feel like that after this Sunday. And let's go, Delvin Cook. My God.
Let's go, Justin Jefferson.
Someone's getting eliminated this week. At least one of us.
And hopefully Josh Jacobs doesn't do anything else tonight. Today? Whatever.
I guess it's technically tonight. We're in the middle of winter, and it's dark by 5 p.m.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to recap my game first because this is so irrelevant for the Jets at all, and I need to get the depression out of the way first, or I'm going to have a bad rest of the show.
Oh, that's a bit of news.
What?
Daniel Jones is done for the season.
Is that really relevant to fantasy football, though? I feel like it's not.
That's
been for 4 weeks.
I mean, really. It's news, though. It's news.
It's news, but it hasn't been relevant for 4 weeks.
Let's go, Jake from State Farm, yo.
Jake from?
Jake from State Farm.
Yeah.
Sterling Shepard tore his ACL. He's done. Or no, Achilles.
All right, let's cover that game first. That seems to obviously be on your mind. So let's talk about Cowboys Giants. Give us a laydown.
Oh no, that's the only thing I know from the game.
Oh, that's all you know? Just your straight depression?
Yeah.
Fine, I'll give you a laydown of what actually happened on the other side, the team that's actually winning, the Cowboys. So in this backfield, unfortunately, it is a split time zone between Pollard and Zeke, but this seems to be working out for both of them. Pollard in this game had 3 catches for 12 yards, but he also had 12 carries for 74 yards, and Zeke had 16 carries for 52, but had the touchdown. So in this game, it's a committee, but it seems to be viable for both of these guys. What's your thoughts on these two going into the last 2 weeks of the season for fantasy football? Not last 2 weeks of the football season, but for fantasy football.
Neither one of them have the upside as long as the other one's active.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them would have those big monster games,
Yep. And as you predicted in this game, too, Dalton Schultz was a very good play, considering the Giants are absolutely awful against the tight end. He played very well. 8 for 67 and a touchdown. Do you like him as a play the last 2 weeks, or?
Depends on their schedule, but probably.
Okay. And then the wide receivers for the Cowboys, I wouldn't say mediocre, but they were middling. I think because of the game script here, they threw it to the running backs, they used the running backs, and they threw to the tight end as opposed to this. But let me just say the most important aspect that came out of this game is our old favorite, Jeremy Sprinkles, went 2 for 21 in this game. 2 catches, finally coming to viability. We knew you could do it, Jeremy Sprinkles. And Garbage Time Fantasy Football is so proud of you.
Go Sprinkles.
On the other side of this game, too, as Ron alluded to, you play nobody except Saquon Barkley in this Giants team. Everyone else is completely useless.
Pretty much until Kadarius Toney comes back.
All right. Anything else you'd like to say on this game before I go back to the depressing Jets and Dolphins game?
Nope. Go ahead and be depressed.
All right. So as we stated earlier with the Jets and Dolphins in this game, Duke Johnson was the whole running game for the Dolphins. Had a very good weekend, and unfortunately, on the other side of the coin, the running game for the Jets was absolutely atrocious. I predicted Carter was going to come back and play very well. Unfortunately, he did not. He hit the vaunted Dolphins front seven and played like shit. All of the Jets wide receivers are absolute shit. You are not playing any of them going forward unless you see maybe more in the last week, and even then, I don't even think I would play him. Quarterback situation starting to look a little bit better, but nothing here is viable. You avoid the whole Jets offense if you can going into the last 2 weeks. On the other side, Parker played pretty well. As we said, the running game for the Dolphins was pretty good. Tua had a strange game where he threw 2 picks but threw 2 touchdowns, but he was all right for fantasy football, but that didn't catch on until later on in the game. I would be cautious considering his matchups the last 2 weeks, though. The Jets are a peewee defense. If he's playing anyone better, and you're going to want to evaluate that later on in the last 2 weeks. I'm off the top of my head, I don't know who he's playing the last 2 weeks, but you may want to look elsewhere if he's got better options because he's not playing the worst but not the best football right now, and I'm sure you can find better options considering matchups.
Well, he'll be a little bit better when it comes, once he gets Jalen Waddle back. He does play better when Waddle's in.
Mm-hmm.
So he should do a little better. And, I mean, he's got good wide receivers when he gets Waddle and Devontae Parker. I mean, it will, play out better for him once he has all of his weapons. And I'm 100% stalling right now to try to find his next matchup.
So his next matchup is the Saints. So that's actually – this is a strange one because the Saints are coming off a week where they played pretty well on defense, but typically they've been very bad against the pass. But they did pretty well against Tom Brady this past week, so I don't really know how I feel about this matchup. The one the week after, though, against the Titans, that's a pretty good matchup. I like Tua in that week. The Saints are a weird team, though. I don't know what to think about that matchup.
I don't know how you found that. I literally am looking at the whole schedule, and I don't know why, but I literally can't find this game.
I Googled Dolphins schedule. It came right up, dude.
It's literally not there. What is going on?
You screwed, and I'm over this game. So would you like to just move on to the next one?
Yeah, you move on. I'm finding this game, damn it.
I just told you the 2.
I understand that, but I'm upset that I can't find it.
Oh, my God.
Look,
35 and doesn't know how to use technology.
I'm 37 and don't know how to use technology.
Might as well be 80 and in the retirement home. All right, so I'm going to cover the Thursday game considering this feels like an eternity after this past week, but it's still viable to fantasy football. And this is the game right here that absolutely broke my heart, okay, because I picked the Chargers to win the game, and the Chiefs on offense weren't doing a whole lot until the fourth quarter. Up until this point, Kelsey had gotten his, but unfortunately I was playing against Kelsey. I was playing up against Kelsey and why am I forgetting the wide receiver's name currently? Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry. Tyreek Hill was currently getting his. And then Kelsey broke out in the fourth quarter in overtime and absolutely murdered my dreams of potentially winning this week. I've got a little bit of hope, but let's see here. So Mahomes in this game played very well, 4-10, 3 touchdowns, but didn't do that until the later one. Also, Kelsey in the fourth quarter and overtime, I felt like got his entire 191 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek did Tyreek kind of things, 148 yards on 12 catches, I believe, for a touchdown too. So based on this offense ran through the 3 stars. for fantasy football this week. The running game didn't do much for them, but they didn't need the running game to do much for them this week. They were playing from behind this game, so they decided to chuck it around the yard. Herbert on the other side, too, played pretty decent, 22 of 38, and also had 2 touchdowns. Allen went 6 for 78 and a touchdown. Almost had more on a bomb at the end of the game, too. So I really was hoping for more for Allen in this game. I thought he had the potential there to do it, and it was pretty close, but it didn't work. Mike Williams was a anemic 3 for 49, and Guyton caught another touchdown, interestingly enough. So what are your thoughts on this game, Ron, besides the big fantasy impact from the stars that we saw in this game?
I mean, outside of the big fantasy impact, it was kind of what everyone thought. It was a high-flying, high-scoring battle of 2 titans of the AFC. I mean,
yeah,
these 2 teams are going to be really good for a few, a bunch of years, most likely. So,
is there anything more to say with that except play your Chargers and play your Chiefs for the next 2 weeks?
You kind of got what you expected. I mean, well, football-wise.
Yeah. Do you feel confident? Do you feel confident going with Mike Williams into the offseason as a keeper potentially?
As a keeper?
Yes.
Probably not. I mean, he had an up and down year, and most of it was down. So you'll probably be able to sneak him out still at a pretty fair value. You're going to want to try to keep people that are better value than that.
Okay. And does Guyton have any viability as a flex player in the last 2 weeks, or do you think he's going to go back to his reserve role? He did score a touchdown this week.
Yeah, but other than the touchdown, he was like 2 for 10 yards.
Okay.
So
you're looking at wide receiver 4 or 5?
Yeah, you need to have him on your roster, I believe, if you can hold him, because if Keenan Allen or Mike Williams misses a game, he has all the talent, and we've already seen it, that he'll step right in and be really good for your fantasy team.
Great.
So,
all right, let's move on to Saturday's game. Did you see what happened with the Patriots and Colts?
I saw that the Colts pretty much had that game in hand, and then at the end of the game, they were like, no, here you go, Patriots. Try to come back. And then Jonathan Taylor put the nail in the coffin, as he is one to do.
It felt like the kind of game that the Colts absolutely out-physicaled them and then got complacent in the fourth quarter. Again, Mac Jones, he almost had 300 yards passing, but it was on a ton of work coming back. He had 2 interceptions in this game too, but Hunter Henry, his big tight end in this game, had 2 touchdowns. Do you have a lot of viability and hope for Hunter Henry going into the last 2 weeks?
If your name's not Kelsey, Kittle, or Andrews, I don't have any trust in you as a tight end on a week-to-week basis.
If he's on your team, are you playing him, though?
Yeah. Touchdown upside.
Okay. And then, as we said, too, and as we've suspected every single week, nobody can stop Jonathan Taylor at this point. The man had 29 carries, 170 yards, and a touchdown, and the whole rest of the Colts offense did absolutely nothing. I mean, we're talking about a quarterback that went 5 for 12 and threw for 57 yards.
Jonathan Taylor should be MVP of the league this year, but he won't get it because he's not a quarterback. But he has willed that team into every single win that they have.
I would argue that Micah Parsons should be Rookie of the Year, but he's not going to win it because he's a defensive player. Micah Parsons has been absolutely amazing for the Cowboys this year.
He could win Rookie of the Year. He could.
I mean, him in that corner. There's another player on that team. He's a rookie. 12 interceptions, correct?
No, he's not a rookie.
Is he a second-year player?
Yeah.
Regardless, Micah Parsons has played absolutely out of his mind
Micah
for the
Parsons is
linebacker
crazy.
position.
But he shouldn't only be in the running for Rookie of the Year. He should be running in the running for Defensive Player of the Year also.
That's absolutely incredible pick by the Cowboys.
Yeah. And I don't know if you recall this, but I wanted the Giants to draft him.
Yeah, well, they didn't. Your rival got them.
I know. Instead, we traded back.
Yeah, it's all right. Kadarius Toney in the long term might work out for you.
No, because our wide receivers never stay healthy. It doesn't matter.
All right, party pooper. You ready to move on to another game?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about the Titans and Steelers next, too. As we stated in this oddity of running backs this week, Foreman got 22 carries for 108 yards. Also had 2 catches for 27 yards. What's your thoughts on Foreman over the final 2 weeks of the season?
I think he's a must start.
Interesting.
This team still wants to run the ball. And he's shown when he's the guy, he can handle it. And on sheer volume alone, he'll be all right.
Okay, and on the other side of the ball, what happened with the Steelers' offense? Nobody was viable.
How'd they win this game?
Field goal kicks?
And defense. Their defense was astounding, too.
Crazy.
This is definitely Big Ben has got to be done after this year.
That whole Steelers offense, and including their rookie phenom, and Pat Freiermuth included, were absolutely all useless for fantasy football. It was just, I thought the game script was perfect for the Steelers to come out and look fantastic in this game. They won this game, but it just wasn't helpful to fantasy at all.
Right.
There was so much useless play for fantasy football this week. It was such a weird week.
So bad.
And I've got a good feeling that that's what we're going to see for the next 2 nights too. I don't have an update on that Raiders game, but you're currently following that one. Why don't you give us a synopsis of what's going on with that?
It's at a commercial right now. Last I looked, it was still 13-7, and the Browns were going down the field. There hasn't been, I don't think there's anybody that's doing anything crazy. It's almost, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was in the fourth quarter with like 7 minutes left.
So what you're saying is a bunch of shit for fantasy football again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Such a weird
Which is kind of what I needed because, you know.
You need a breakout game tonight.
I need Josh Jacobs to not do anything. So there's 3:45 left, and Cleveland is actually winning. They must have scored a touchdown. It's 13-14 right now. And I don't know who scored a touchdown or anything. So, yeah.
All right, so all right, let's move on to some more viability too. I guess there's a little bit more viability in this game, although only from one team. Panthers and Bills. There was only one viable player on the Panthers, and that's because he sucks up all the fantasy viability. That was Cam Newton here. So he went for 156 yards, a touchdown, and he also rushed for 76 and a touchdown. Can you play Cam Newton the last 2 weeks?
Nope.
Do you want to even go on that train?
Nope.
You might not play him, but is he playable for other people?
Don't do
it. Give us some alternatives.
I'm telling you, if you were in the fantasy play, Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's a great play over Cam Newton.
Yep. Nick Mullins. Right. No, I'm kidding.
Don't do that.
Jake Fromm.
Oh, God. I mean, Abdullah scored a touchdown for the Panthers. That offense is just anemic. Well, Cam Newton's
so
been on there.
Bad.
All right, let's talk about a much better offense. Josh Allen in this game, very well, 3 touchdowns, threw for over 200 yards too. But the interesting piece of this was Singletary, 22 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Do they trust Singletary for the last 2 weeks of these playoffs?
I don't know. Like, they should. They should pick a guy and run him. Like,
well, people are looking for your answers and your advice, Ryan. You're a genius, remember? Give us the viability. Is he a flex player?
No, because there's been too many games where he gets 3 carries.
So you look elsewhere.
At any point, the Bills can just be like, we're just going to throw the ball every single play. I think there's been 3 games this year where they literally haven't attempted a run until the second half of the game.
Okay, so let's go to these top 4 running back performances on the week and tell me if you'd play them over Singletary. Craig Reynolds.
No, because DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams should be back this week.
Jeff Wilson.
Yes.
Dante Foreman.
As long as Elijah Mitchell isn't back.
Okay. With that little tidbit. Dante Foreman.
Yes.
Duke Johnson.
No.
Okay, and on the other side of this too, Gabe Davis, 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Is he becoming a staple of the wide receiving core with the Bills because he feels like the number 2 wide receiver there now?
If you remember back in the preseason, before they signed Emmanuel Sanders, fantasy community was blowing up for Gabe Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they signed Emmanuel Sanders, and exactly what everyone feared happened. Emmanuel Sanders came in, played well. Gabe Davis didn't get the role. Now I think they realize, oh, wait, we have a younger, better wide receiver on the team. We should let him play. So, yes, I do believe he is going to be wide receiver 3 going forward in fantasy football.
I would elevate that dude. I think he's a low-end wide receiver 2 at this point. I'm very confident with him going over the last few weeks.
That's fine with me. Low-end wide receiver 2. Oh, Browns just intercepted the ball.
Oh, that's a little bit closer to the end of that game. Also, Knox got 4 catches in this game, too, so he's also a viable tight end going into the last 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, he's also got the tight end upside. Very good offense. That's what you want in your tight end. You want one off of good offense that, they get targeted and everything. So,
is there anyone else in this game you wanted to talk about?
Nope.
All right, so let's move on to a nice barn burner, the Texans and the Jaguars. So, General Mills, 19 of 30, 209 and 2 touchdowns. Can you play the General in the last 2 weeks?
Every little bit of me wants to say no, but this man has done nothing except ball out for 4 weeks now?
Yeah. General Mills looks pretty good. I mean, Tyrod interrupted that a little bit, but
you could play him over Cam Newton.
I think you could play General Mills over Cam Newton.
Yep, General Mills over Cam Newton. Can we talk about Brandon Cooks in this game, though?
7 for 102 and 2 touchdowns.
That man is – I'm not very much in my fantasy playoffs, but that man helped keep me close. So I traded Saquon Barkley for him, by the way.
And a host of other pieces.
No. That was a straight up Brandon Cooks for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. How do you feel about Saquon's dynasty outlooks?
Still be fine.
Okay.
He's still young. He's still very talented. Saquon Barkley is the perfect person to buy low right now. He'll have 2 really good years, and then you trade him really high before he reaches that, running back age of 27, 28, where they start, especially his type of running style, the very shifty, it's not like he's Derrick Henry where he just bowls people over. He needs the elusiveness.
Okay. Now let's talk about a running back on the other side. James Robinson looked like he did get that number 1 role finally, so that was kind of nice. He got 18 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Also a little bit of passing work too. So what's your thoughts on James Robinson for the last 2 weeks of the season?
For the last 2 weeks of the season, you got to play him. I mean, he's getting the volume. The new head coach came out and said, we want our best players to touch the ball. And right now, James Robinson is their best player.
Yeah.
He got 20-something carries, I think it was?
18.
So if he's going to get 18 to 20 carries a game, yeah, you start him.
Also,
and then in Dynasty, you trade him after this year.
Okay. Laquan Treadwell, why is he still getting receptions for the Jaguars?
Like I said, James Robinson is their best player.
Ignore the rest.
Well, just, when your best player is an undrafted an undrafted running back, then that's saying something about your wide receivers. Okay. And that something is they're not good.
O'Shaughnessy, viable at all? 4 for 60 the last 2 weeks?
Nah.
Anything else? Anywhere else you'd like to talk about in this fantastic game?
Nope.
All right, we've already covered the Cowboys and Giants because we got that out of the way quick. So let's talk about what the hell happened with the Cardinals and Lions. Can you give me a lowdown of what the hell happened in this game? Because this one pissed me off to no end.
Don't know. I didn't get to watch it. I wasn't airing on any of my stations. I tried following as best I could, but all I saw was Jared Goff balling out and Kyler Murray looking like Jared Goff.
Let me just tell you that it just felt like the Cardinals didn't get up for this game. They thought that they were just going to roll right over the Lions because, as you said, Goff absolutely dominated in this game. Went 21 of 26, 216, and 3 touchdowns. Do not play Jared Goff after this week. He is not going to do anything. That was an oddity on the season. Reynolds, 26 carries, 112.
I think he is viable.
Jared Goff?
No. Josh Reynolds.
Oh, absolutely. We already
they've got decent matchups coming up, I believe. I think I looked at it, and their next 2 weeks are actually very good matchups. So I think Josh Reynolds is a very good play. He has the chemistry with Jared Goff from their days as the Rams players. And since he's came over to the team, he's had mostly good games. So,
yeah, can talk about a player starting to break out in the end of his rookie season too. Amon Ra St. 8 for 90 and a touchdown. This guy can ball, and he is scrappy. What's your thoughts on Amon Ra? Yeah, we were hoping, and it's starting to come to light.
We called it right. Browns are putting the ball away with 2 minutes left to go.
Thank you for that update. All right, and then as we said, Amon Ra St. I think you can definitely start him in your wide receiver 3 position going forward. Yep. He's got high wide receiver 2 upside too. He's finally coming on, and he has absolutely balled out the last 2 weeks. I do get start him confidently. Happy to say he's on my dynasty team. So another piece I have. Any other thoughts, Ron?
I can't think of anything else. Don't lose faith in the Cardinals. They'll turn it around. Although I will say, last year, we saw kind of this exact thing with Kyler Murray. Was playing MVP all year, got injured, and then came back and just did not play as well. And that's exactly what happened this year. Balled out, got injured, and now hasn't been playing as well. So we got to keep an eye on this because this might be a trend.
Something I think you have to keep an eye on even more is that backfield. I believe they are going to go to a split backfield again. Don't get me wrong. Connors was banged up going into this game, but he went 6 for 53. But Edmonds is back, and I think they're going to trend that way of splitting this backfield to keep these two guys healthy. Not to say Connors isn't going to be viable, but I think he may fall down to more of the flex position as opposed to the running back 2. So that's just something to monitor over your last 2 weeks. I don't think you flex him out to the bench right now, but just watch it next week. Also in this game, too, it appears that Kirk is going to be the number 1 wide receiver for them, 9 for 94 and a touchdown. Ertz had a pretty good game, too, 6 for 94. Green was still involved, 4 for 64. So they're obviously spreading the love around with these 3, and they're really what they're going to have to do with DeAndre Hopkins out for potentially the year.
Yeah, they definitely Kyler Murray is very good at spreading the ball around, and they've got him the weapons to potentially be really good. We've already seen him be a top 5 fantasy QB for multiple weeks in a row. Like, he has that upside, and he's got the weapons. They'll put it all together, and they'll be better.
All right, so Bengals and Broncos. Give me the drop down. What happened with this one?
I have no idea what happened to this game. I don't even know who won, if I'm being honest.
Well, I can tell you that Burrow went 15 to 22, 157 yards and a touchdown. Mixon went 17 for 58. But the surprise breakout wide receiver for them was Tyler Boyd, 5 for 96 and a touchdown.
That's not a surprise.
Nope. And the Bengals did win this game. Bridgewater was knocked out of the game. Tim Patrick caught a touchdown, but we saw the split committee between Javonte Williams with 15 carries and Melvin Gordon with 15 carries. Javonte Williams looking slightly better with 72 yards and Melvin Gordon 53. So that was the game script for this game. The typical game script we thought we were going to get.
Yeah, they'll keep doing that. Like we already said, this is going to be a split. Hopefully next year, Melvin Gordon goes to a team that could use a running back that his fantasy value won't tank off. He is getting up there in age, though. But Javonte Williams, hopefully he gets his backfield to himself next year, because with him and then Aaron Rodgers at running back, it's going to be amazing. All right, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I'm sorry.
Any concerns about the other 2 receivers for the Bengals going forward? Higgins and the rookie?
No.
Play them.
Well, Jamar Chase, Tyler Higgins.
Tyler Higgins? You mean Tyler Boyd?
No, I meant
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase.
T. Higgins.
They're both startable every week. You have to.
Oh, my God. All right, so now we have the Falcons and the 49ers, and this was an interesting game because there was a lot of fantasy viability for it. I was shitting on Russell Gage for about 3/4 of the season, but over the last few weeks, he's really started to come on. So Gage in this game went 91 and a touchdown. Ryan, 19 to 32 for 236 and a touchdown. So an all right game for fantasy football. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 77. So a little bit of viability here. You're not a big fan of Kyle Pitts. I know that, but
No. I think Kyle Pitts is an amazing athlete, but he's a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a rookie tight end. And he's a tight end that's not on a very good offense. That just doesn't bode well for consistent fantasy upside.
What's it look like going into next year?
Depends on who's the quarterback and what they do with this offense. And if Calvin Ridley comes back,
it's going to be Matt Ryan. I have no doubt it's going to be Matt Ryan.
It could be. Look, if it's Matt Ryan, and Calvin Ridley comes back, maybe they get some offensive line help. Their defense can, help out some more. He could be better next year.
What is your gut feeling on him, though? Don't give me if they sign these players, he'll be better. Do you think he's got a high upside for next year?
I think
overall,
he
could be a top 5 tight end next year.
Yes, he could be. He'll be a top 5 tight end next year because he's very talented. However, I think overall, let's say dynasty outlook, I think overall for where you drafted him in your rookie drafts, which is probably a top 5 pick, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get what I don't believe you're going to get what you thought you were going to get from Kyle Pitts. I don't.
Okay. And on the other side of the ball here, too, the 49ers looked good in many facets and not good in other ones. So Kittle, 6 for 93. Samuel got his rushing work again, 6 for 29 with 4 catches and 60 yards. He is their all-around gadget player. What the hell is going on with Ayuk? He just seems to be having a roller coaster ride of the season. Disappointing the last 2 weeks. 1 catch for fucking 36 yards. My boy did not help me out this week. What is going on with Ayuk, and do you like the other weapons going forward?
If they can get their running game going, Ayuk is going to be useless.
Great.
Seriously, though. That's what I mean, though. If they can get the running game going with whoever the running back is and Deebo Samuel specifically around the goal line, because I think he's had a rushing touchdown in each of the last 3 games that he's played. I think he missed 1 week. Ayuk isn't going to do anything because it's going to be run, play action pass to George Kittle. That's what it's going to be. And then maybe if George Kittle's actually covered, like he fell down or something, they'll pass the ball to Ayuk then.
Okay.
So I think you have to go by game script. If they're going to be able to run the ball, keep the lead, and keep the game close, Ayuk is not going to have a good game. But if it's a game where they end up falling behind and they have to pass the ball more, that's where Ayuk is going to help them, and that's when Ayuk will help your fantasy team.
Where does Jimmy Garoppolo slot in starting quarterbacks for the next 2 weeks, considering the schedule?
He still has top fucking schedule, right? He's playing 2 really weak teams. Isn't one of them the Jets?
It's not the Jets.
He plays the Titans this week on Thursday Night Football. So yeah, that's a start.
All right, we have another question here for the Heckling fandom, all in one show. So price of admission here is like and subscribe to the show. And when we get this wrong, ultimately, come back and scream at us because we'd love it. So all in one show asks us, hello, Conklin or RSJ? So who are you going with, Ron?
This is an easy Conklin. I'm pretty sure Ricky Seals-Jones is trending to be out tomorrow. I think he got put on the COVID list.
And I also believe you're right here, too, because not only that reason, but Conklin is a good play for the reason that Adam Thielen has been out, and he is going to be a good red zone target for them in this game. So if this is your last-minute decision, go with Conklin. He's the sure bet tonight. Hopefully that helps you get through your playoff run. Good luck.
I really want to know what was going on with Ricky Seals-Jones. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he missed a practice with illness yesterday. So I would take this for sure, Conklin, and I probably would have went Conklin anyways. Like Joe said, Thielen has already been ruled out, and he's got a better chance for a touchdown, I think, than Ricky Seals-Jones.
Okay, let's cover the last fantasy relevant game of the night, and then we'll go to the Packers and Ravens after. Bucs and Saints. So let's talk about the tight end playing quarterback, Taysom Hill. 13 of 27, 154 yards, but also 33 yards rushing. Is he viable for the last 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs?
Yeah, just because you know what he can do. You know, those rushing quarterbacks, they're almost always viable because even if they have a bad passing day, they can save you with, well, what did he do last week? 2 rushing touchdowns? Like, It's always there.
Well, dude, we completely feel you.
Everybody.
Thank you guys have a depleted roster in the playoffs. So let me say this right now. 10% of the NFL is out on a COVID list. That's probably part of the reason why you have a depleted roster, but injuries have been a bitch the last few weeks too. So believe me, we are completely understanding. Hopefully you'll be healthy going into your next round victory in the playoffs.
And
so
we'll be here. We'll be here for all of it. And in the off season.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to and also subscribe to the show.
Subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we go live. We go live almost every time we record one. Every once in a while we don't, but we've been going live almost every time. We really want to engage with the people. Like, that's what we want. We don't want we want to be live and get the questions right then and there. We don't want to.
We also enjoy you guys roasting us when we're wrong. So
yeah, that's always fun for us.
Which might happen sometimes.
That's why you're the heckling fandom.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of someone that's trolling the backfield too, Ingram is back.
Update: Raiders won.
Oh shit!
They drove down the field, got a field goal.
Okay. Also in this backfield for the Bucs and Saints game too, they were splitting carries. I found this very concerning. What does this mean for the Saints backfield, considering they have Kamara and Ingram back there?
That they want to run the ball as much as possible.
Yeah. And is Kamara still running back one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think this team is going to run the ball 40, 50 times a game. Like, between Kamara, Ingram, and Taysom Hill, like, they're going to run the ball probably close to 50 times a game.
All right. And do you like the viability of Callaway? 6 for 112 going into the next 2 weeks, or is he just someone you're going to ignore?
He had a good week last week too, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
2 in a row is hard to ignore. 2 good weeks, obviously he didn't do it before that, but, Taysom Hill wasn't in. It was a different quarterback. Things were a little bit different. It's hard because it's playoffs. You don't want to take chances, but.
Do you feel more confident in him or, say, a Devontae Parker?
Devontae Parker.
Him or Amon Ra St. Brown?
Amon Ra St. Brown.
Okay. All right. AJ Green.
I'm going to have to go AJ Green. Most of these decisions, other than Amon Ra St. Brown, are just, the better offense that I feel is there. And, like, the tiebreak for Devontae Parker was Devontae Parker is not going to be the one drawing the big coverages on his team.
Mm-hmm.
And Tua is not going to rush for 80 yards in a game where Taysom Hill could. And that's 80 yards that a receiver won't get.
What happened to Tom Brady in this game? 26 for 48 and 214 and an interception.
Dude, the Saints just have his number, apparently. They won week 1, didn't they? Or no,
yeah, they beat him.
Week 1, the week 1, the Bucs played the Cowboys. But
no, they upset the Patriots in week 1.
Oh, it was the Patriots in week 1, but the Saints did beat the Bucs earlier in the season.
Oh,
right?
no, they upset the Packers, not the Patriots in week 1.
The Packers week 1, right? Yes.
Yeah, they did beat them earlier in the season, though. Yeah, you're right. So they did sweep them this season.
Matches up well with the Bucs and just plays hard, I guess. I don't know.
All the wide receivers on this team were hurt.
Yeah, we already went through this.
What is the layout for this wide receiver core next week? So Godwin's out for the season. Evans is probably not going to play next week, right? So the top two options are going to be Antonio Brown and Gronk.
Well, Tyler Johnson might get in there too. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Who showed flashes when he's been on the field. So he could be a sneaky flex play. He would be a really good DFS play if Mike Evans misses also.
Okay. Any other pieces of this game you'd like to talk about?
We already discussed most of it with like Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones and all that. So if you're watching now and you want to hear that, go back to the beginning of the episode.
All right.
Over on Apple Podcasts and leave a review and follow us.
That's also a good one. So Packers and Ravens. Mark Andrews, the absolute animal. 2 touchdowns in this game.
He's almost seemed better with Tyler Huntley.
It's odd. Well, it's because Tyler Huntley exclusively targets him, it feels like. Although Hollywood Brown did get 10 targets from him, too. So what's your thoughts on this offense going forward? And are you hoping that Lamar Jackson sits out the last 2 weeks?
No, I'm not hoping that. He's my quarterback. I hope he comes back and he's like, oh, I see what Tyler Huntley did. I can do that.
Do you like Huntley as a dynasty stash?
Maybe. I was thinking about it. Like, we checked his contract. He's a free agent after this year.
Mm-hmm.
He could definitely go to a team that, maybe doesn't get the Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers lottery that they have. You said the Giants, and I initially said I wouldn't be happy. But if they decide not to draft a quarterback and they bring Tyler Huntley in to compete with Daniel Jones, that could be a good situation for us. Use our top draft picks on defensive or offensive line piece, maybe a good defensive piece. We're going to have 2 top 10 at least. Maybe we use those. And then if, the Tyler Huntley, Daniel Jones, whatever experience doesn't pay off, or, because I know Russell Wilson said he'd take away his trade clause for the Giants, but we're saying if that don't happen, Tyler Huntley showed he can play, but is that a product of the system? It's hard, but I do think he played his way into going somewhere to fight for a starting job is what I'm getting at.
He's an interesting piece going forward, and I think for fantasy football, he's very viable for dynasty. Over the last 2 weeks, I really don't know. It depends on if, obviously, Lamar is going to start, but I don't know if I would play him with any confidence. I think I would still look other directions. But with that thought, what's your thoughts on the weapons for the Ravens going forward? Do you like the running game? Obviously, you like the tight end, but what do you think about these receivers in the running game for the Ravens?
The running game, they started working Latavius Murray and more, which killed Devonta Freeman's value.
Yep.
And obviously, it doesn't matter if it's Jackson or Huntley. The quarterback's going to run the ball. I think Huntley had 70 yards or something like that on the ground.
Yep.
So the running backs are hard. Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, as long as Sammy Watkins isn't playing.
And what was Rashad Bateman's numbers for this game?
I don't have them offhand, but I know he got targeted a few times.
Just pull it up for me, please.
I will see what I can find, sir.
I was degrading him to a pit trap in the jungle this past week, so I'm kind of curious if that's what actually happened with him.
Oh, they played Green Bay, yeah. Yeah, so he only got 2 targets, actually.
Oh, yeah, so look at that. A pit trap in the jungle, just like I thought.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good with my ticks lately.
But he had a 93% snap count.
He did, but still 2 catches.
1 catch, actually. 2 targets.
Oh, my God.
But if Lamar Jackson comes back, he, 93 snap count, that's one of the things you want to see from a wide receiver is they're on the field.
I'm not playing him in the last 2 weeks. No way. I told you he's a pit trap, and he's going to be the guy that's going to lose you your games.
Possibly.
Not that he's not talented and could very much help fantasy teams in the future. He's just a rookie that I'm not trusting. So let's talk about the Packers on the other side, too. This split backfield is interesting. Dillon got the touchdown. What's your thoughts on Jones and Dillon going into the last 2 weeks?
this is going to tank both of their fantasy values going into next year. Like, I will not take either one as in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not even the second round, just because of this right here.
Okay.
If Aaron Rodgers leaves, I'd probably take Aaron Jones in the second round.
Okay. Interesting pieces for the wide receivers. Obviously, Scantling seemed to have his game in this. He got the touchdown. Adams also went 6 for 44 in touchdown. So a little bit lower end of a game for him, but he still scored. So that kind of helps with the pain a little bit. I wanted to touch on DeGara a little bit here. He's a little bit of an interesting piece here for the Packers. Not for the sense that I think he's viable for your team the last 2 weeks, but for Dynasty, he's kind of interesting because they like to flex him out and use him as pieces. Do you have any interest in DeGara for Dynasty?
No, I don't.
You're just going to flush that one right down the toilet on me?
Yep.
Okay, and then Rodgers, fantastic game, 23 and 31, 268 and 3 touchdowns. Playing at an all-time level, even with that broken foot.
Yep.
Sorry.
Update. Josh Jacobs only got 12.5 points, so worked out good for me. Now I just need Justin Jefferson to go off for at least 30.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts going into either that game or tomorrow's 2 games, Ron?
Let's go Justin Jefferson. And I'll even give you a Dalvin Cook. Let's go Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook.
What about Tuesday's games?
Rams,
Seahawks, Seattle, Eagles. Washington, Eagles.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to predict those games. I don't know who's going to be playing in them, like, I just feel like at any minute we could get like word that 13 of any one team is now on the COVID list and like could totally change the games.
Odell is back for that Rams game, so that's going to widen the pie for all 3 of those receivers there. Penny is an interesting option, I think, going up against the Rams. As to that Washington-Philly game, I am looking for different options all across the board, and I hope you do not have to play a person in that game at all.
I'm going to say this right now, all right? And if you tell Jordan to change her lineup, I'm nuking this entire league. Right now, she's got Dallas Goedert in her flex and Odell Beckham on her bench. I would play Odell Beckham every time over Dallas Goedert.
You better hope she doesn't listen to this.
You better not tell her.
I don't tell her to set her fantasy lineups. She would listen to me anyway.
I will nuke this entire league. Nuke it right to the core.
You hear that from Dictator Seymour.
Before the championship game, I'll just delete the entire thing.
Straight from the dictator's mouth.
That's right.
All right. Anything else you want to tell the heckling fandom besides like and subscribe for the show?
Nope. We are on YouTube at Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Make sure you check out our Twitter at garbage_time_FF. Instagram, Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Make sure you go to our website, www.garbagetimeff.com. Over there, you get, I believe there's links over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. All Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Make sure you go over there, follow all of them. On Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review for us. At our website, again, that's www.garbagetimeff.com. You can leave the review there. You can leave voicemail or hate mail there, and we play them on the show. iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, we are there. And make sure you go check out our sister show, Garbage Time Presents the MMA Podcast. It's a really good show. We're kind of inconsistent with it right now, but we're hoping after the football season gets over, we can work on getting more shows of that out to you and get a better schedule in place for that.
We'll push some content for that. No worries.
We'll push some content.
We
got big things coming in the off season, hopefully.
Yeah, and actually this week too, we have our regular 3 episodes. Tomorrow will be the waiver show and then the preview show. But also, I believe at some point this week or before New Year's, JJ will have our worst 12 takes of the fantasy football season, which will be interesting, and we will love to drop for the heckling fandom. Can't wait to see what Ron has on there, so that'll be a good one.
Oh, boy.
Anything else, Ron, or are you ready to get out of here?
I'm ready to get out of here. All right. Have a good night, everybody.